Broadcasting from the beautiful Great Lakes state of Michigan, I'm Tom Bartholomew, your host of the Michigan Contractor Show. And I worked in the construction industry for over 25 years. I started on a job site when I was 14, working for my dad on a vinyl siding job. Now I spend all my time running a digital marketing agency where I help contractors and companies in the skilled trade promote their business and reach customers in ways they never thought possible. Again, my name is Tom, and let's get to today's guest. All right, and my guest today is from the Metro Detroit area. They have been in business, the rental business, for over 20 years. They provide Skytrek brand forklifts. And again, they're located right there in Milford. I want to welcome the founder of Aero Lift, Jim Koontz, and Craig Hearn along with him. Craig Hearn, I'm sorry.
Good afternoon.
Yes,
nice
welcome.
To be here. Nice to be here.
Yes, thank you.
Excellent. So I gave a little bit of an intro. Jim, can you tell us a little bit more about your company?
Sure. In 1994, I recognized that there was a need, there was a gap, a need for competitively priced, premium performing used forklifts. The market has plenty of brand new product from the local dealers and mega dealers, but I came up with the concept of good used equipment that was tuned up, cleaned up, and we could rent out for 10% below market rates and maybe make a living and provide a service. And we liked Skytracks. Detroit has primarily been a Skytrack town. In my estimation at the time, in a 60-mile radius of Detroit, over 2,000 Skytracks. And it was a very, very rich environment. There was a machine population was there. And so I thought about the idea of buying one. And in 1991, bought one. And then we bought another, and then another, and then another. I ran the company single-handedly for about 6 years. And then my sons joined me one at a time. And we added employees and we added machinery. So now we've got a fleet of about 250 Skytracks, 15 mechanics, 14-acre facility with 5 buildings on it. It's a campus facility, the paint shops and repair shops and welding shops, fabricating shops in the beautiful little town of Milford, Michigan.
All right. That's great. So why did I know you said that Detroit is kind of a Skytrack town. What really brought you to that company or that brand of forklift?
Interestingly enough, I spent 23 years with a major equipment company prior to resigning and starting Aero Lift. And at that equipment company, I sold air compressors and various tools and light towers and stuff equipment that was necessary for a job site, but non-operated equipment, support equipment. And when I first was introduced to telehandlers, Skytracks, and in this case it was Lull, kind of like one of the first units in the telehandler industry, I fell in love with it because it was an operated piece of equipment. And a man at the controls could develop an expertise, much like I'm sure an excavator operator, or bulldozer operator, or crane operator, but an operated piece of equipment. And it was the first in my life. And I'd made a tidy living selling support equipment, no regrets. But when I saw the utilization of a telehandler, I fell in love with it. And this was in the late 70s. And I watched it. The telehandler just opened my eyes that the forklift is an essential tool on the job. It's often the first piece that's delivered to a job because it unloads all the trucks and materials as they start the job. And then because it reloads all those same trucks, the excess material and all the equipment, it's one of the last pieces to leave a job. And it's so darn handy. And I just fell in love with the concept, the 4-wheel drive. It was just the capabilities of it. And right then and there in the late 70s, I thought, one day, I think I would like to have a private fleet of these. And that was the little nugget that started it. And it took me 15 years to do that. But sometimes ideas take a time to go from seed to plant.
Yeah, I think that's what they call an overnight success, right?
20,
Lots of hard work.
25 years in the making, overnight success, right?
Yes, yes. That's right. So who would come in and rent the SkyTrax from you? What type of customers do you guys have? Do you serve?
Our primary focus are residential framing contractors, rough framers, the guys who build the skeletons of our homes. And they use it to unload the lumber from the trucks, and they use it to place the lumber around the perimeter of the job. And then the more savvy will prefabricate the walls and panels and all the porches and the roof. And then they bring it up, they strap it, and they boom it into place. And so it gets to be quite a production facility. So the residential contractors, steel erectors, use them to shake out steel. It comes on trucks, they unload the trucks, they place it around the perimeter of the job, and they'll feed the crane with it. Because sometimes the crane is stationary crane. It doesn't have the mobility to go get the steel. It'll bring it to bring the steel to the crane. Roofing contractors use them for shingles, and then heavy commercial roofs to do tear-offs and to feed the roof with the insulation. All kinds of specialty contractors that we find as these hotels are proliferating in the Detroit area, the structures being built with the framing contractor, the roofs being put on, the glazing, the windows, the frame, the soffits, the exterior of the frame. And then most recently, we've outfitted these with large material hoppers so they can open up the windows. They can't use the service elevators. And so bring in the cabinets and the shower enclosures and the toilets and all the support, everything that goes inside these buildings comes on semis. They go in these material handlers and they boom them up to each floor and they're unloaded. So that's another tremendous opportunity for us too. It's called a material handler for a reason. It just does everything. I think everybody ought to have a couple.
I'm sure that contractors do. When I was doing contractors, I used them a lot for, like what you were saying, for roofing mostly, I think is what I had used the SkyTrax for. Right. Yep, getting the materials up there. I didn't like carrying those 90-pound bundles up on my shoulders.
Well, that's good work, but for a while.
Yeah, it's a good exercise, but give me a forklift. Yes, the SkyTrax, they definitely, when I have used the different ones, I like the SkyTrax the best. So now you guys specialize, you kind of consider yourself an environmentally friendly company. Can you tell me more about that?
Well, in several ways. Number one, we first of all, we specialize in what we call the pre-emission years of manufacture. And before the government and the regulations were instituted, and the tier 2, tier 3, tier 4 interim, tier 4 final, and soon to tier 5 engines are soon to be coming out. The engines became more complex, more difficult to diagnose when they malfunctioned. But from the years 2004 to 2008, they were pretty much built identical. So for those 4 years, the pre-emission years, we specialize in those. And most of our 250 SkyTrax are of that vintage. And you might think that, well, okay, those are the dirty ones, but they're not at all. Nobody, and I mean nobody, likes being behind a pickup truck or a truck that takes off from a traffic light with a big plume of black smoke. Everybody universally says, you got to get that thing off the air. Well, I can guarantee you that when you hit the throttle on one of ours, you see nothing. These things run clean, they're tuned, they're tight. These are efficient machines. They oftentimes burn less fuel than the new highly regulated ones, run cooler, run longer, they're more powerful, and they're very, very efficient. So we think we're green from that perspective, and that might be arguable by some other people's standards, but we firmly believe we're green there. Plus, as we service the thousands of forklifts in the Detroit area, we recapture the oils and we bring them home in buckets and we put them in our cylinders, and we heat 4 of our 5 buildings with waste oil burners. And we burn up to 5,000 gallons of used oil in those 4 buildings over the year. You can recycle antifreeze by filtering it. We recycle parts. We sell a lot of used parts. So we keep machines out of the landfills. We keep them working longer and burning cleaner. And so we feel that we recycle on site. We consider ourselves environmentalists, and we live in a beautiful part of the country. Most of our men are hunters and sportsmen. So we are lovers of the earth, lovers of the land, and we respect the planet and each other. It's a nice deal.
Well, that's great. I'm thankful that you guys are doing that. Being conscious of the recycling and the oils, because we wouldn't want to just throw that stuff out. Absolutely, the antifreeze and whatnot. Now, you guys do a lot of sales as well, and you were talking to me before about how you highly recommend buying a used product versus a new product. Can you tell me what the benefits of that are?
Well, I guess initially what's on everybody's mind is price, and one of our tricked out used units, premium supported, new tires, functioning gauges, the paint will look good. It'll perform well, and you can purchase it for approximately 1/3 of the price of a brand new one. And once again, I believe it'll run better and maybe even longer than the new ones. The jury is out on how these sophisticated, computer-laden, efficient, environmentally regulated machines are going to run. What's their longevity? Because they got to run at excessive temperatures to reburn the fuel and reburn the exhaust, and all these non-productive activities are going on with this overheated engine that I'm not certain is going to last as long as our 15-year-old units. So you'll recapture a great deal of your investment should you decide to sell it at some point in time if you maintain it, because it's a SkyTrak from Aero Lift.
Well, those are some great points. I know that when I was in contracting, when I was doing construction, on top of my mind was my budget. How much am I going to spend? So that's a great reason. Now, because you deal with only, SkyTrak lifts, when somebody is renting it or something and they need service, you said you have this thing that you call a special kind of service, a white glove service?
Yes, that's a recent sort of status that we are offering. We come out and we actually offer 2 types of service for a machine, and that's if you bought it from us, great. If you didn't buy it from us and you'd like us to do it too, we offer a preventive maintenance service where we come out and we do a walk around. We lube the machine up, put a fuel filter in it. We lube the boom, we make recommendations, and that's $195 currently. We send 2 service techs. All our service trucks have 2 men in them. One is a senior mechanic, the other one is a trainee, but we get the job done oftentimes 2 and 3 times faster, because a man who's under the machine may lack a wrench or need a hydraulic hose. His assistant goes back and gets it. And by the way, that truck is outfitted with over $100,000 worth of tools and parts. We do not like to make second trips. We oftentimes do not make second trips. It's unusual for us to have to call radio back and say, we're lacking a part. We like to have each and every part that we're going to come across on that service truck. And with 20 years experience, we pretty much know what we're doing, and we've got those parts. So that's for $195. For $495, you got a 75-point bumper to bumper service that we do. Same 2 service techs come out, and it's very, very thorough. So we offer that. We recommend 1 bumper to bumper $495 service a year, and then 3 of the walkarounds at $195. And it's such a great deal. And then I'm not certain Aero Lift makes any money on it. We make some recommendations, and maybe we do a little bit of extra at work at the time. But that will keep your SkyTrak running top notch, making it more productive, burn less fuel, and leak less fluids, and enhance your investment. Clients are spending $30,000 to $60,000 on these things. You want to maintain them. So we are currently offering that, and that's what we've dubbed this white glove treatment.
Well, that sounds like Tom, great service. Yeah, go ahead, Craig.
Tom, I'd like to add in that a lot of the times, if a customer calls, we're able to get out there within 24 hours and sometimes less. We're able to get out there sometimes same day because we have multiple trucks on the road and we're outfitted with so many different parts. They don't have to come back to the shop to get stuff. If they're on the road and a service call is in the area, we can stop by. And it just, obviously, as you know, if the machine is down, the job site stops and work stops and money is lost. So what Aero Lift has done is they've got multiple service trucks on the road and are able to sometimes do same day fixes but usually it's within 24 hours, saving a lot of time and money for our customer who's waiting on the job site.
Absolutely. For a contractor, just like anybody, time is money, and they want to get that job done as fast as possible with few interruptions. So I can see by shortening that window of time that they're down that you're definitely enhancing them a lot. I can see that, Craig.
Exactly.
Let's see here. So you were saying that, Jim, that this is a family business. Can you tell me who is in business with you, Jim?
My oldest son, it is a family business. I have my two sons working with me. And now it's almost like I'm working for them. They've really picked it up. My oldest son, Steve, who's got a degree in construction, engineering of some sort, whether he's applied it much or not, but he from Lawrence Institute, joined me about 15 years ago. And he's mechanically minded, and he's just brilliant and looks after the mechanical operations. It's pretty handy to have a very, very detailed. We say he's not accurate, he's precise. And it turns out that his love of all things mechanical and his attention to detail has also transferred over into the accounting side of the business. And bonus, he's very good at numbers and works very closely with our outside accounting firm. We do subcontract out the majority of it, and I would highly recommend the firm that we use, and they are really, really competent. So we have expert advice there. Younger son, Matt, who's got his master's degree in sports administration, an excellent ball player, but like a lot of ball players, ultimately that ends. And he joined about 12 years ago, and he handles the market effort, rental clients, and the logistics. Turns out that moving around 250 pieces of equipment on a daily basis you have to have a certain appetite for chaos, and he manages that very well. So both the boys have fields of expertise that overlap slightly. I'm not saying they could do each other's jobs, but they respect the heck out of each other, and they work together nicely and seamlessly. They're both equal partners, equal junior partners. I'm the senior partner. But it's all reduced to writing. They will take over the company. They're not easing me out. In fact, they seem to enjoy my presence, and I'm delighted to have that. So it is a family company. We treat our employees like family. We have a couple other employees that have been with us for over 10 years, and we don't lose employees. We have lost a couple that was okay if they left, but the guys that we embrace have been with us 3, 5, 7, 10, 12 years. And that's my sons. We have a nice, stable workforce that have zero absenteeism, zero turnover. And we have a group that attacks the business every day, and we love them. And I think they love working here.
Well, I think that attests a lot to the leaders. If the leaders aren't leading properly, then the rest of the crew, they won't follow. So that, I'm sure that is a big testament to you there, Jim. Craig, can you tell us what you do for Aero Lifts?
Sure. So I've been a friend of Jim and his sons for quite a few years, and they brought me in the last couple of years, and more recently, the last couple of months, to do a lot more work. So I do a lot of the marketing, a lot of the digital side of the job. So Jim and his sons are so focused on what they do, the machines and doing it well, that obviously they had to hand some of the pieces off. And one of the pieces is the marketing and the online marketing and the digital aspects. So I've helped with their website, I helped with their social media stuff. We do some paid advertising here and there. And then there's just a few other little pieces around that we do that we're offering to clients as well. It's all part of what Jim and we're all calling the white glove service from start to finish. I don't know if Jim wants me to expand upon it, but recently we had a client who found us, and they were about an hour and a half away from Milford. And they found us online. They Googled SkyTrack, and they found our website. They came to our website. We've got a little chat feature on our website. So we engaged in the chat with them. Within about 5 or 6 minutes, we had handed off that phone number from that potential client to one of Jim's sons, Matt. Matt put a phone call in. And the next day, that client or potential client was in the yard in our office, walking around, asking questions, getting questions answered. And I'll skip ahead, but essentially what happened within a few days, they brought their boss back. 2 days later, they were writing a check for a SkyTrack, and they couldn't believe what we'd offered from start to finish. Their SkyTrack is about to be delivered. I believe it's tomorrow. And we've sent them pictures of the SkyTrack that they chose. We've cleaned it up. We put new pieces on it. We took pictures and sent it to them. They are thrilled. So I kind of fit in a little piece of the pie there, a little bit of the online SEO and a little bit of the chat feature. But once it gets handed off, it's Jim and his sons and the team here. And that white glove service, it just from start to finish is what we at Aero Lift like to say we do best. And obviously there's no extra cost for any of that. It's just built right in because that's how we treat the clients and treat our customers. So I help in a multitude of different ways. And one of the great things about it is I get to learn about SkyTrack, but I get to sit and talk to Jim almost every day. He's as he said, a senior member, but his mentorship has been absolutely phenomenal. And I see it in his sons. I'm good friends with his sons, and I see the pieces that he's teaching all of us. I see them and the way they're interacting with clients and customers and employees as well. So that's one of the added bonuses for me, kind of sitting here in the office at Aero Lift, is just learning from Jim and seeing how he's built up this business.
Awesome. Thank you, Craig. That sounds like you are playing an integral part of the team to get people get them SEO so they can find it on Google, all the way to the chatbot and interacting with them. I think that's very important. And that's aerolifts.usa.com is where you can find Jim and Craig and the family business doing the SkyTrack rental and sales. Jim, when we talked earlier, you had some tips that you could give people. And I think those tips, I know they're for your SkyTracks. They can find them on your website. I know you have a couple pages and some video you guys have been doing. They can find you on YouTube and Facebook. What are some of those tips that for SkyTrack people when they have them out there, especially winter? We're in winter right now. And what are some tips that you could give for people that have a SkyTrack or any kind of equipment to do during the winter?
Well, right now on our website, if you go on to Aero Lift, it's without an S, aeroliftusa.com. You can go to the company insights, and on there, you can, in the drop-down menu, you can see a list of blogs and some videos. One of them is Winter Rules. And these are the care and feeding, as we say, of SkyTracks during the winter. And some of them, in no particular order, is at the end of the day, park the machine on the street side of the job site, assuming it's a residential contractor. Instead of leaving it behind the structure, down along the walkout, out behind the building, bring it up street side. That way, if it needs service, we can get at it. If it needs jumping, you can get at it. And the second thing would be to plug it in at night, run an extension cord to power supply. Each one of our machines has a block heater in it. And we show on our website, on that video, there's a circle around the cord that's on the outside of the machine. You don't have to go looking for it. An interesting little tip is to take your extension cord and thread it through the steering wheel and then go over to the back of the machine and plug it in. And why do you do that? Because you'll never drive away with it plugged in then. It's not unusual for us to give machines back off rental and there's an extension cord wrapped around the axle. Someone drove away with it. So there's a little tip that I picked up from a farmer one time 40 years ago. So that's keep your diesel tank at least half a tank full or more to keep the condensation, the water and debris out of it. All that stuff gathers in the bottom of the tank. If you run it with just a couple gallons in it habitually, it's going to cost you time, money, energy, grief, a butt chewing by me or my service people, and when it runs out of fuel. So keep it up. And those that cover the machine with a piece of visqueen, or we sell an excellent cab cover. You cover the machine, you keep the snow and ice off all your levers and steering wheel and the button and the seat. and no one likes to drive around with a wet fanny. So these are some of the tips that we offer. When you start it up in the morning, you let it idle for half a minute or so and then gun the engine. I mean, put your hand on it and throttle it up. That gets your alternator energized to start recharging the system. If you just let it sitting there and idle for a half hour, it literally could discharge because it never starts charging. So get it gunned up and then start cycling the hydraulics a little bit and be patient with it. And in a few minutes, it'll respond. So all of these, if you take these few little tips, and they might take 20 minutes, it'll ensure much more productivity and less grief and a more productive and a profitable job site.
I think those tips are great, and I think that they would be applicable to any type of a diesel equipment. Yes.
No doubt.
All right. Well, is there anything else that you would like to add or tell us where they can find you? End here.
Well, you can find us, due to Craig's worthy efforts, on the internet. We're welcome you to our job site at aeroliftusa.com, our website, and take a look around. And soon we're going to have a virtual tour of Aero Lift, because it's oftentimes you can find a SkyTrack. There's thousands of them out there. You can find them in various sources and auctions and online and so on. But it's not an Aero Lift SkyTrack. We really go through them, and for not much of a premium, you can get a machine that we have thoroughly gone through. And I've owned over 1,200 SkyTracks, and we're in 25 years of doing it, and we've got 150 years collective mechanical experience on repairing these vintage SkyTracks that we have. We are, I think we're better at it than anybody on the planet. And so you buying a SkyTrack from Aero Lift, renting a SkyTrack from Aero Lift, calling Aero Lift for expertise, buying your parts, just all things SkyTrack from Aero Lift is probably a good resource that we encourage you to use.
All right. Well, that sounds great. Jim and Craig, I appreciate you guys being on the show today. And they can find you at aeroliftusa.com. No S. Sorry about that. And again, thank you for being on the show, and we'll talk to you next time.
Appreciate the honor. Thank you. It's been a privilege.
Thank you, Tom. Appreciate it. Take care.
You can find more information about Aero Lift and Jim and Craig at aeroliftusa.com. And if you enjoyed this show, give us a thumbs up, subscribe to our channel, hit that bell so you're notified every time we put a new episode out, and head on over to MichiganContractorShow.com for more episodes, and you can also apply to be on the show as a guest. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.